Ani Wache Kwekwe Segum Medal Oktio, Melanie Sinaway Dishnakos, Wikwam Kong Donjaba. My name is Melanie Sinaway. I'm an Anishinaabe Kwe from Kong, and I'm the Senior Manager of Capacity Development for the Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic regions. My past experience of being an external auditor, a part-time professor, and a director of finance at a First Nation have led me to this role of helping nations bring their financial administration law to life. We understand that some communities may not have been able to meet certain deadlines during these challenging times. However, using technologies such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Skype, reaching out to the FMB team, and planning forward may assist with meeting future deadlines. So today, my team will be presenting the Financial Administration Law Calendar, or the FAL calendar, and answering the question of who does what and when, specifically with regards to Chief and Counsel, the Finance and Audit Committee, the Chief Administrative Officer, otherwise known as the Band Manager, Executive Director, or Director General, as well as the Director of Finance, or otherwise named the Senior Finance Person within your organization. So please keep in mind that the dates to be mentioned in the calendars are for an ideal world and without all the additional current stressors we are currently facing. So now I'd like to introduce you to my team. So first is Nathan Sack, who is a Mi'kmaq from Indian Brook First Nation and is the CD Manager for the Atlantic region. Nathan has served in senior management roles in the past and serves on several national boards for various organizations now. Natalie Huntley, who is an Innu from Mashtiyash and is a CD Manager for the Quebec region. Natalie has worked with First Nations for a number of years in a senior management role for a public organization. Next is Catherine DeBosque, who is an Anishinaabe from Chiging First Nation and is one of the CD Managers from the Ontario region. She has 15 years experience working with Indigenous entrepreneurs within the consulting and financing sectors. And next is Tara White, who is a Mohawk from Ganawage and is the other CD Manager from the Ontario region, and who also assists with the Atlantic region. She has approximately 15 years experience working in a finance function for a First Nation and a private Aboriginal college, plus an additional 6 years of banking experience. So just to let everybody know, there is a Q&A function. I already see one question coming up. However, we will be answering the questions at the end of the presentation, and we'll make sure we make time for that. I'd like to pass it off to Nathan now to discuss the Chief and Counsel Financial Administration Law Calendar.
Thank you, Melanie. So when talking about this calendar, we're going to use the analogy of building a house. So when we're building a house, we first need a good foundation. So with these financial management systems, that foundation includes the policy and procedures of the nation. So building the policy and procedures and having them approved by Chief and Counsel is a fantastic way to go. And if you already have policy and procedures approved, revisiting those policies at least once a year to make sure that the policies are currently addressing the needs of the nation with the changes in the external environment is very important. It's also important to revisit your Finance and Audit Committee just to make sure that the proper people are sitting at the table during those meetings and to make sure that the members of the Finance and Audit Committee are as per the approved terms of reference. So now that we have that foundation in place, we can speak about planning and making sure that we have a strong plan to build the rest of the structure. For planning purposes, it is important to have a 5-year strategic plan developed and approved by the Chief and Counsel. This plan serves as a roadmap while ensuring the band is focused on the strategic drivers identified by your membership. The multi-year financial plan serves as a budget for that strategic plan. The strategic plan and multi-year financial plan should be reviewed on a yearly basis before March 31st. A good practice is to include a review of these documents during your yearly budgeting process. Speaking of the yearly budgeting process, on a year-to-year basis, there will be changes in the external and internal environment. The yearly budgeting process will enable the administration to plan for these changes. Also, keep in mind that the yearly budget is due March 31st of each fiscal season. It is important to plan for unforeseen circumstances. Murphy's Law, what can happen will happen. The risk management plan is a great tool to establish approved processes and responses for events and unforeseen circumstances. If it does happen, at least we'll have an approved plan. Some other plan and documents that should be reviewed and approved by the Chief and Counsel on an annual basis are the Life Cycle Management Plan, What major things are we going to fix versus what are we not going to fix? We have a limited amount of budget, and we need to prioritize what's important for the nation and its members. Tangible Capital Asset Reserve Fund. This is similar to the CMHC process. It is like putting money away for when we need to fix our community gym, for example, having that reserve in place. An emergency response plan. Are you ready for the next pandemic? Community flood? What if we lose power for a month straight? Are you ready for that? Well, let's put a plan in place to ensure that we are. Our organizations change frequently, and we should review our structure on an annual basis to ensure we are up to date and the lines of communication are clear. A great way to accomplish this is to revisit the organizational chart during the annual policy review. Now we're going to talk about reporting. As with any building activity, we need to ensure our actions are being executed according to plan. To do this, there are reporting activities included on this calendar. Your financial team will provide monthly financial reports as predetermined by council. These should be reviewed on a monthly basis and is a great way for the council to hold the administration accountable to the already established plan. Quarterly financial statements will be prepared by a finance team and reviewed by a finance and audit committee. The finance and audit committee will recommend the statements for approval while also making sure these statements are prepared based on chief and council's requirements and the way they want them presented. Quarterly financial statements are to be approved via council motion or resolution. Records of their approval should be maintained according to the nation's financial administration law and information management policies. Special purpose reports such as the schedule of council remuneration and expenses are to be approved by or before July 29th of each fiscal season. It is common practice to have these reports rolled up in audited annual financial statements. Each year pursuant to your financial administration law, annual reports should be drafted and approved by the chief and council. A good practice that I have seen is communities host an annual general meeting and they present these documents, including the financial statements, to the membership then, and afterwards they leave them for public consumption, either on the website or available at the nation's administration building. Another important accountability measure is to ensure the officers in your organization, such as your CEO, CFO, your band manager, your chief financial officer, receive their performance evaluation. As outlined in the human resource policy, the chief and council are responsible for the performance evaluation of the band manager or CEO, and the other functions for the evaluation can be delegated as outlined in the already approved policy and procedures. So now that we have the reporting, we're going to move over to a little bit about the audit reporting mechanisms in your financial administration law, along with the financial management systems. Your audit is to be approved by chief and council by or before July 29th of each fiscal season and signed by those listed in your financial administration law. As I already mentioned, we must ensure our band members have access to these statements. Chief and council are responsible to approve the auditor engagement letter and the audit plan. The letter and plan will be developed by your team, so you don't need to draft these documents, you just need to review them and approve them. The chief and council are also responsible to review the audit findings report and management letter and address anything that's provided in those reports. So now we're going to move over to the local revenue property taxes, and that's if it's applicable to your nation. For nations that have local revenue such as collection of property tax, it is required that separate financial institution accounts are established. Also, an annual budget for local revenue account will need chief and council approval. If your local revenues are over $400,000, this will require a separate set of audit financial statements that will require chief and council approval. Now that we have built this beautiful house, I will hand the floor over to my friend Natalie, who will review her other aspects of the calendar with you folks. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Nathan. So hi, everyone. So today I will talk about the Finance and Audit Committee calendar. So first, what is a Finance and Audit Committee? It's a committee that oversees the financial reporting and audit function of a First Nation. It provides forward-thinking oversight of the investment of a First Nation and support council in making good financial decisions. The FAC has also an oversight responsibility for risk management, including risk associated with reporting process and mitigation controls. By doing that, the FAC reinforces council accountability and transparency to its members. It's important to understand that it is a recommending committee only and has no decision-making authority. So by recommending, monitoring, and reviewing, the FAC is supporting management with the planning, conduct, and results of financial and audit activities. An important thing to remember is that all members must be independent. So a person is independent if they do not have a direct financial connection with the First Nation government. For example, an employee who has a role in the financial management of the First Nation, including budgeting, financial reporting, procurement, and utilization of funds, would not be considered independent and could not be a member of the FAC. So now let's look at the Finance and Audit Committee calendar. So the first responsibilities are related to governance. So it is very important that upon appointment and annually thereafter, that all members sign the code of conduct and eligibility declarations. In the event of an actual or potential conflict of interest, members will need to sign a private interest declaration as soon as possible. So now let's take a look at the planning. So it is the FAC responsibility to review and recommend to Council before March 31st, the annual budget and multi-year financial plan, which will need to be approved by Council by March 31st. So during the winter period, the FAC will need to review and recommend to Council the risk management plan and the annual capital project budget. It will also review the financial information provided on the life cycle management plan and tangible capital asset register. So now in regards to financial reporting. So the FAC may be required to review the First Nation monthly financial information if Council delegates this function to the Finance and Audit Committee. For each quarter and within 45 days of quarter end, the FAC will review and recommend to Council the quarterly financial statements. During the spring and beginning of summer, before Council's approval, which is required by July 29, the FAC will review and make recommendation to Council about the First Nation draft annual financial statements. This includes the audited annual financial statements about local revenue, if applicable, and any special purpose reports. Information that you will find below in the calendar. So that the last part I will cover is the audit. So during winter time, the FAC will recommend the selection of the auditor and review and recommend the engagement letter and audit plan to Council. Following the audit, the FAC will review the audit finding report and manager letter from the auditor. If the letters contain any specific recommendation, the FAC will review management's response. So thank you. Now I will pass it off to my colleague, Catherine.
Great, thank you, Natalie. Let's look at some of the key activities for the Chief Administrative Officer, or CAO, and that role in supporting the FAL. In your nation, this may be the Executive Director, CEO, or Band Manager. This person can be thought of as the quarterback role. If you think of how a quarterback calls the plays that leads the team towards success, it's not accomplished by one player alone. In governance-related activities, the CAO coordinates the overall administrative team towards achieving the nation's annual goals. It's also the buffer point between day-to-day management and political leadership of Chief and Council, who have set the broad objectives in the strategic plan and the community comprehensive plan with membership input. Taking time to review that game plan then is an important part of the annual success. And it may be actually a good time to do this now in the beginning of the new fiscal. Developing improvements as required, of course, is an ongoing responsibility of the CAO throughout the year. As my friend Nathan mentioned earlier, policies are approved at the council level, and if delegated, procedures may be approved by the CAO. The CAO also ensures that all staff are aware of the policies and assign the code of conduct annually. In terms of planning activities, the CAO is actively involved in the planning activities by attending and participating in the Finance and Audit Committee meetings as a valued knowledge resource, however, does not vote on its recommendations. Other plans, such as strategic plan reviews and the overseeing of the annual budgeting process and multi-year financial plan, include the CAO's involvement to get these completed and ready for approval before March 31st. Of course, there's much collaboration. For instance, the development of the tangible capital asset register and life cycle management plan may be assigned to finance. It's vital that the capital assets are maintained and managed well in consideration to future anticipated renovation, maintenance, and eventually replacement involving significant investment. FMB has developed tools and can deliver training that you may find useful in many aspects of fully implementing and maintaining adherence to your nation's FAL. Other plans such as emergency response, risk management plan, and maintaining an updated organizational chart help the nation to prepare and respond in an effective way to meet community needs. In terms of reporting, the CAO maintains a list of financial reports and oversees the delivery of consistent reports on a monthly, quarterly, and annual basis. Regarding the monthly financial reporting, Council determines whether it will review, or the FAC reviews, or the CAO. The CAO ensures the annual report to community is ready by September 27th. Before year end, the CAO oversees the completion of performance evaluations and training needs are identified. In terms of the audit, the CAO supports the completion of the audit process by July 29th. And in regards to information management throughout the year, it's vital to maintain up-to-date information privacy practices and secure record keeping. The calendar format presented here may help to schedule and coordinate these important tasks throughout the year. At this time, I'll pass the next section to my friend Tara to share more.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. So now I'm going to talk about the responsibilities of the senior finance person. So this is the director of finance, the finance manager, senior finance officer, etc. So when it comes to the Finance and Audit Committee, the Director of Finance role is not a formal member of the FAC. So like the CAO, they do not vote, but they do have to attend all of the FAC meetings. And the Director of Finance will be preparing a lot of the information that is presented at the FAC meetings. So they are required to attend all FAC meetings unless they are either excused by the chairperson for a reasonable purpose, or unless they are excluded by an FAC vote as per the nation's financial administration law. So the main areas of responsibility for the Director of Finance fall under planning, reporting, and audit activities. When it comes to planning, the majority of the planning is going to occur during the fall and winter months. So the Director of Finance is responsible for coordinating and participating in the preparation of the nation's planning documents that have been mentioned. So plans such as the annual budget, the multi-year plan, the capital plan, the budget and maintenance schedule for capital assets. The Director of Finance is responsible to prepare the budget format or the template that's going to be used for all of the individual departmental budgets. And they must participate in all of the budget planning sessions. So the Director of Finance is ultimately responsible to ensure that all of the budget drafts are complete, although it is a best practice when possible to involve the program managers or other individuals responsible for a budget to work in the development of their own budgets. Some ideas to help get the program managers involved in developing their own budgets include holding training sessions, so including how to fill out the template, and especially for new employees or employees who have not had much experience in the past in developing their own budgets. Scheduling one-on-one meetings to help with the budget development and/or review, being available to provide guidance and ask and answer questions to help individuals with their own budget development, and getting started early. So ideally, if you can start in the fall, that way you have a lot of time to review and prepare. And we all know that things pop up and priorities come about. So getting started really early gives you that extra time that you need. Also providing figures to support the budget development. So last year actual versus budget figures, the current year to date figures, as well as projected payroll figures for the next year for each individual departmental budget. And organizationally, another idea to support individuals being involved in developing their own budgets is to start including that responsibility within job descriptions and work plans as they are updated and prepared. So once the individual budgets are complete, the Director of Finance is going to prepare the draft consolidated budget and then project those numbers out to come up with a 5-year financial plan draft. And all of these plans are going to be presented to the Finance and Audit Committee for their review. So again, as the plans need to be approved by council before March 31, it's important that all of these drafts are prepared early enough so that the Finance and Audit Committee does have time to do a thorough review before they bring their recommendation forward to council. Throughout the year, there might be additional planning activities that may be required on an as-needed basis. So these might include proposals for long-term debt financing, capital projects, any proposed investments, new proposed lending programs for members, the annual insurance renewal, recommended new or updated policies and procedures, and any budget adjustments throughout the year. When it comes to reporting, this is going to happen throughout the year. So on a monthly basis, the Director of Finance is going to ensure that the monthly financial reports, as have been determined by council, are prepared and distributed. Monthly also, they're going to ensure that the bank reconciliations, including an independent review, are completed within 30 days after each month end, and that any unreconciled amounts or irregularities that come up within the bank reconciliations are investigated. And if there's not a reasonable explanation discovered, they need to make sure that that is brought forward and reported to the Finance and Audit Committee. So some examples could be outstanding checks, checks older than 6 months, or unreconciled deposits. On a quarterly basis, the Director of Finance is going to ensure that the quarterly financial reports are prepared and distributed. As per the financial administration law, the quarterly statements must be in a form and content approved by council on recommendation by the FAC. And they must include a statement of revenue and expenditures containing a comparison to the annual budget, a statement of financial position, and any other information requested by the Finance and Audit Committee or council. So again, these statements need to be approved within 45 days of quarter end. So the Director of Finance must ensure that they are prepared with enough time for the FAC to do their formal review before they are brought forward to council. Other reports that the Director of Finance is going to prepare for the FAC on a quarterly basis are the financial reports list update, investment monitoring report, the capital asset reserve fund status update, long-term debt monitoring report, capital project monitoring report, the for-profit business activities report, and an update on risk mitigating plans, especially as they relate to financial reporting and fraud risk. On an annual basis, the Director of Finance is responsible to ensure the draft annual financial statements are prepared, as well as any special purpose reports. So under the financial administration law, the following special purpose reports are required. So a report setting out all payments made to honor guarantees and indemnities for the fiscal year, the schedule of council remuneration and expenses, a report setting out all debts or obligations forgiven by the nation, as well as any other report that may be required under the Act or any other agreement that the nation has signed. On an annual basis, the Director of Finance will also prepare a loan reporting, loan guarantees and indemnities report for review by the Finance and Audit Committee. And then on an annual basis, an evaluation of all of the staff within the Finance Department. So the performance evaluation and setting out the work plan for the upcoming year. On an as-needed basis, if any irregularities or concerns come up, they need to be reported to the Finance and Audit Committee as soon as possible. So again, these might be some unexplained irregularities from bank reconciliations, any significant reconciliations that do not balance, irregular or extraordinary GL adjustments that have been made that are material in nature, or any suspected incidences of wrongdoing as per the whistleblower policy. As far as reporting them, it depends on the nature of the issue and the timing of the next FAC meeting. So if it is a minor issue or it's just a reporting issue and there is an FAC meeting coming up, it could just be brought forward to the next meeting. However, if it's an urgent nature or something that needs to be dealt with right away, then it should be reported immediately to the FAC chairperson. When it comes to audit activities, those are going to occur primarily in the spring and summer months. So the Director of Finance is going to support the completion of the audited financial statements and provide whatever support the auditors need to get that done. And then once the audit is complete, they're going to review the audit findings report and management letter from the auditor, and then bring forward any recommendations they have for improvements to the Finance and Audit Committee. If your nation collects local revenues and/or has a loan through the First Nations Finance Authority, then the Director of Finance must also ensure that they keep a complete set of separate records regarding the local revenues and/or any other revenue that is used to secure the FNFA loan. And now I'm going to turn it back to Melanie.
Miigwech Tara and miigwech to the team. Thank you for providing an overview of the financial administration law calendars to assist nations with helping stay organized. Along with all the templates discussed, we can provide training to help with meeting future deadlines. For now, we can provide virtual training, again, as I brought up, through Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or Skype, and we will begin to visit on-site when travel restrictions lift. Some examples of items that we've been working on with nations are updating policies that comply with the nation's financial administration law. Those policies are governance over the financial management system, the finance policy, the human resources policy, and the information management policy. Other deliverables we've been assisting with during these times are the risk management plans and Finance and Audit Committee training, just to name a few. We have mailed out to calendars and a quick reference guide. I do realize that Canada Post is overwhelmed right now, so it may take a little bit. So if you'd like a copy of the financial administration law after this presentation sent to you by email, please contact your CD manager. If you'd like a presentation in French, please reach out to our Quebec region CD manager, who would be happy to provide an overview of the calendars. And if there are any further questions after our question period, or if we're not able to get to all the questions, please contact your CD manager, me, visit our call as per the slide here, or visit our website for tools and templates. Thank you. I'm going to get to the questions now. Answer live. Will the presentation will be made available to the participants? Yes. Yes, this will be made available through a recording and will be made available on our website. Next question. Will I lose my 10-year grant if council hasn't approved our budget yet? So we have heard that ISK reporting requirements are relaxed around the 10-year grants at this moment. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that. Would anybody else from the team like to add anything on that?
Just one thing, and that's the 10-year grant. Be cognizant that that's an agreement between the nation and the government of Canada through Indigenous Affairs. So it's we're a capacity development team, and we don't have any sort of enforcement role in that. We're just helping communities increase capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. Okay, can FMB come and train council on their calendar? Our band office has reopened. So we will get in touch with you, or if you could reach out to your CD manager, I should say, as each nation's territories restrictions are different. So if you can please contact your CD manager on that as to when we can come for on-site visits again. Okay, next question. When starting up with your financial administration law, how do you manage unscheduled funding opportunities that pop up here and there? These opportunities often help to advance initiatives that often have been put to the back burner. Would anybody like to answer this?
Sure, I will. So one thing with all of the planning that's required as part of the financial administration law, there is a big focus on looking ahead and really planning out what your priorities are and getting your strategic plan in place. So by taking a look at that and having a strategic plan and really involving the community and what the community's priorities are and what you really want to work to over the next 5 years, that can help with not getting sidetracked by a lot of these funding opportunities that may pop up that could be great for great initiatives, but they might be something that is not really going to take your nation where you want to go. So by really taking that time to plan in the beginning, and it might mean that, you might have to decide as a nation if, okay, for the next 6 months, we're just going to focus on getting our plan in place, get our input with the community, really determine what our priorities are. And in that time frame, you might have to decide, okay, if any funding opportunities pop up, we're going to decide to either forego them for now because we really want to see what our priorities are, or if something comes up, really take a look at what the initiative is for. Is it something that really is going to advance your community to where you want to go? Or is it something that is really going to sidetrack you and take you away from where your community wants to get to in the future? So I think this part a lot, it's really taking that time to plan and get the community involved in really deciding what the nation's priorities are.
Thank you, Tara. Would anybody else like to add anything to that? No. Thank you. Thank you. That's all the questions for now. Again, we will be providing this presentation. It will be put up on our website. Thank you very much. Chumigwech. Bye for now.